Well, in his investment summary, he promised the investor a debenture over Ashbrookes Group Ltd, basically a legal claim on the company's assets. They were also promised a legal charge over S2 John Street Ltd, meaning they had a right to a specific property owned by that company. And to sweeten the deal, Baird said their funds would be held by a solicitor until the deal was finalized. He even said the security trustee would have first dibs on assets, so the investor's interests were supposedly protected.
On paper, it sounds like they were going above and beyond to protect the investor.
It does, doesn't it? But here's the kicker. Our investigation couldn't find any proof to back up these claims. No sign of a solicitor holding funds. No paperwork for those promised charges. It's starting to look like a carefully constructed facade designed to make investors feel secure when they really shouldn't.
This is getting shadier by the minute. So tell me about S2 John Street Ltd. Are they legit or just a shell company set up to move money around?
As of December 31st, 2023, S2 John Street Ltd. was officially balance sheet insolvent, which basically means they owe more than they own. Not exactly a picture of financial health, right? And here's the kicker. They had 0 property assets listed.
Wait, so they're offering a property as security, but they don't actually own any property. How does that even work?
Great question, and it leads us to another interesting twist in this whole saga. Remember Alpha Trustee Services Ltd., the current security trustee for the Ashbrookes loan notes? Well, back in September and November of 2023, they registered charges against both Ashbrookes Group Ltd. and S2 John Street Ltd.
Charges? What kind of charges are we talking about?
These charges were connected to a property at 6066 John Street in Sunderland. And wouldn't you know it, that address is also one of Ashbrookes' regional offices. The land registry title for this property is TY249929, and it's directly linked to those charges filed by Alpha Trustee Services.
So they're using a property that's supposed to be one of their own offices as collateral for these investments. Something seems fishy there.
It definitely raises some red flags. And here's another layer to this. In 2022, that same property was listed for £950,000. But the supposed purchase price was way lower, only £650,000.
Oh, a property losing almost a third of its value in a year. That's a massive difference even in a crazy market. Something's not adding up here.
You're right to be skeptical. That price difference raises some serious questions about whether that sale was legit. Was it a genuine deal, or was that lower price a way to hide the true value of the property, maybe for tax reasons or some other financial shenanigans? These are questions that need some serious investigating.
Okay, so we've got this John Street property at the center of this whole tangled web. What else is going on with it?
Well, S2 John Street Ltd. had put in an application for planning permission to turn the building into student accommodation. But Ashbrookes came out and said the conversion fell under permitted development rights, which means they didn't need approval at all.
So they were trying to completely bypass the planning process. It sounds pretty risky to me.
It is, especially considering what happened next. Ashbrookes initially told investors they'd have planning approval by July 2024. Then they pushed that back to February 2025. And now, as of today, March 7th, 2025, the latest update says the planning decision's been delayed again.
No planning permission, and they keep moving the goalposts. Not a good sign for anyone who invested in this project.
Exactly. This delay throws a wrench into the whole loan note exit strategy. It puts investors' money at risk. Remember, the idea was that once the development was done and the property was either sold or making money, investors would get their money back with interest. But if the project stalled because of planning issues, that timeline goes out the window.
This is starting to sound like a financial house of cards about to come crashing down.
A very fitting analogy, and it gets even more complicated when we look at who actually owns this property. Land registry records still list the owner as Elite Gemstones Properties Ltd. with a purchase price of £1.58 million back in 2014.
Wait a minute, so Ashbrookes doesn't even own the property they're using as collateral for these loan notes?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Even though Ashbrookes says they completed the purchase of 6066 John Street, we couldn't find any proof to back that up. And remember, those charges Alpha Trustee Services put on the property, those were filed before the supposed purchase was even finalized.
So the security trustee who's supposed to be protecting the investors put a charge on a property the company might not even own. This is getting ridiculous.
It is ridiculous and incredibly concerning. It makes you question whether those in charge are even competent or if they have ulterior motives.